Some days I wish I had a soul.
Welcome everybody, thanks for joining me again. This is part 2 of the song Hollow. If you haven't seen part 1, I suggest you check it out. One thing I didn't say, but I always say in all my other videos, is if you haven't already, go to aloststateofmind.com. You're going to find this song Hollow as its own separate album. It's like a single that I posted it as. So I encourage you to check out the song. I do want to reiterate that it is sort of like a rough single of what it's actually going to be in the final album when I actually put it out at some point in the next 10 years. So we've already covered the intro and everything that leads up into the first verse. In the last video, I kind of started playing the first verse. I'm going to do that again for this video just so you guys can hear how the intro transitions into the first verse. And for this song, when I cover the first verse, I'm going to be covering the first and pretty much the first and the second verse, meaning the first verse is pretty much the same thing as the second verse, so I'm not going to make another video going over the second verse. The same thing applies to the chorus. I'm just going to do one video with the chorus. Any minor changes I'll cover in that one video. So this video is this video is both verses for the song. So here's everything leading up into the first verse, starting a little bit before it. So as you can see, there's not much going on. There are the drums. I showed you the drums in the first video. It's just a simple drum hit. There's a little fill right before everything starts, and this is what you have. And so basically, before I get into the bass, I'm going to play the guitar because the bass essentially just follows the guitar. Now, to explain how this guitar riff came up, it's very simple. I just basically followed the drum beat, but I wanted this song to be simple, but yet change. And what I mean by that is I like this beginning riff. This is the guitar riff when everything first comes in right here. And as you can hear, it follows the drum beat. Now, one secret I'm going to give away, it's not necessarily a secret, but it's something that a lot of people might miss. With most heavy guitar music, if you listen to bands like Parkway Drive, and I almost said A Lost State of Mind, but if you listen to bands like Parkway Drive and As I Lay Dying, a lot of those hardcore bands like that, they tend, especially with As I Lay Dying, their guitar riff will follow their drum beat a lot. And not every time. It's not like something they always do, I won't say that, but in order to get that really heavy, solid sound to their music, especially during breakdowns, the guitars pretty much follow what the drum does. Oftentimes when I'm writing and I want to try to find a heavy sound, I'll find it like a drum beat MIDI, and then I go ahead and I start messing around with the MIDI to kind of shape it to how I feel I'd want to play along to it, if that makes any sense. And then I'll take my guitar and I'll start, dicking around with it. And then, I sometimes go back and forth, like maybe the guitar wasn't, it doesn't sound right, maybe because it's off a beat, so I'll add or take away or do whatever I need to do the drums. But that's kind of what's happening here, is the guitar is pretty much following the kick drum. And if you can't hear what's happening, let's say this is the left guitar and the kick drum together. So nothing too crazy. I've mentioned him before, but if you ever want to talk to somebody or watch videos of somebody who really knows how to put some really cool time signatures or cool guitar riffs into really awkward time signatures, my friend on Facebook, Anthony Columbus, he He's a genius when it comes to that kind of stuff. I tried kind of doing that here. It's a 4/4 time signature, so it's really like nothing too complex, but it seems to work with the song. So what I did to change that is it's still kind of the same riff, but I did this to the guitars. So basically, what we have here with these guitars, and again, I don't like the sound of these guitars. They're too paper sandy. But instead of it just being a really strict staccato palm mute, I decided to instead of playing the open note, I decided to play on the first fret, let it ring out, and then follow up with the heavy. I'm still following the kick drum, but I'm playing it heavier now. I'm a lot more relaxed on my palm muting. So if you listen to the difference between these two guitars, this is what you have. So you get the idea. The next thing I added was the bass, which is doing the same thing. But like I've said before in all my videos, I like to add grit to the bass. I don't always do it. It depends on the song. But, especially for metal songs, I add grit to the bass to kind of glue everything together. Okay, so this is what you have with the bass. It's not much different. As you can tell, it's staccato here, and it rings out over here. So staccato, rings out. So here's the bass track with both measures. One thing I haven't been mentioning to anybody is lately I've been tuning down to G sharp. I basically use an 8-string guitar, but I tune it into a 7-string, as a 7-string. So I have one extra higher string, and then I have my 7th lower string. I just have never been able to write good music with like 8-string guitars with the standard tuning of F sharp, or dropping it down to E. Again, my friend Anthony Columbus is really good with that kind of stuff. I think it's just my style of playing. It's always made it more difficult for me to come up with sounds with notes that low. And so with this guitar is tuned to G sharp. It's the lowest I'll go as far as playing fast. So with the bass, I use a 6-string Warwick thumb neck through, and it's really hard to find thick strings for a 6-string bass. And so I'm stuck with using the standard strings and tuning it down a G. So that's why it sounds a little floppy. But it works in the mix, because when you have the bass and the guitar together, now, if I wanted to, and I might at some point, I could actually cut the transitions between the guitars where it's supposed to be quiet, and it basically makes it so the extra ringing in the guitars, they won't show up. So basically what you'll have here is it'll sound like this. And you're thinking, like, that sounds like shit. You can definitely tell. But if you have the bass, it's still going to be a little... And then if you add the drums, it's a little less noticeable. And you're thinking, I can still hear that. I can still hear those notes cutting out right away. Well, that's why we have what I call the glue, or the psycho guitar in the background. I'm going to play it all together, like this, just to show you this little experiment with cutting away the guitar. But just so you can hear it, I'll solo it in a second, but this is what it sounds like all together. So it's a little less noticeable. It's something I didn't get around to messing with during the creation of the song, but that's an option for any of you who are trying to figure out how to make the guitars tighter. Now, going back to the last thing for the verse is you have this psycho guitar, or what I call the psycho guitar. I showed you a little bit of this on video 1, but this is what it sounds like with both measures. Now, I went with this because I knew the nature of the song. I knew what the song was trying to talk about, or the mess. I knew the message that the song was trying to portray, and so I needed to add something with some weird dissonance to it, something that just sounded crazy, something that didn't sound too musical. If you listen to a lot of like post-hardcore metal, especially Parkway Drive, you're gonna hear a lot of this sound. It's something that I've been obsessed with for a long time. I haven't used it a lot lately, but it worked perfectly with the song because, as you can tell, when everything comes together, you have this. So that's what you have right there. You get kind of where I was going with this. The very last part of this, before I go on to the next video, is you have the vocals. Now, as a vocalist, as a singer, I'm not one that screams a lot. It's not because I think it's bad or it sounds bad. Most of the music I listen to, you have the low guttural, screamo, angry white boy type music vocals. I admire it. I think it's great. I just, for whatever reason, I can't do that. Sometimes I'm embarrassed because there might be people around me while I'm doing it, or I just never have built up to the for. I've never practiced to get to that point. So I've had to kind of resort to singing, but I found ways around that. Sometimes I'll do things where I sound a lot more, it's like it's what I call passive aggressive vocals. And so a lot of times I'll be singing something that's really fucked up just to kind of, change things up a little bit. So if I'm, if I were to ever write a song about murdering a stuffed teddy bear, instead of me screaming about it, I might actually sing about it to make it sound a little more twisted. But what I did with these vocals is I decided to do the whole talking trick where you just kind of talk the vocals out. There's no rhythm to it. There's no, you're not on a beat. You're just talking. But I also wanted to add some distortion and some chorus to really make my vocals sound like, not necessarily that they're not from me, but that they're just completely not natural. And so what I did is I did this to my vocals.
I wonder if my blank stare makes you realize I don't care about your problems or your life, your shitty job or cheating wife. All I see as is a number until you reach your eternal slumber. I'll be there to tuck you in, say goodnight with a grin.
And so that's that. And yeah, those are definitely the only treatment I did to the vocals were, adding some distortion chorus. It's not like I have a vocal range, but I'm really good at doing the deep talking and then singing really high, So I kind of use that to my advantage. So within the mix, this is what everything sounds like all the way up to the very first chorus. So let me minimize everything here so you can see it. And I also want to point out these are the vocals I was just showing you. And I'm going to play this song because I'm assuming you've already listened to this already. I'm going to play this song starting right before. It's during the first verse, but it's right before I come in and start singing. So this way you can actually hear what I'm trying to say right here. I'm going to let this play into the chorus just a little bit. So you can see how that kind of transitioned to this angry white boy music to just kind of like a nice, beautiful sound. So that's where it's going to end on this video. I'm going to, in the next video, I'm going to show you what I do with the chorus and basically how I transition and all that fun stuff. So hopefully I explained everything with this verse. Actually, with both of these verses. The very simple song. There's not much going on. I just used what I had and I made it sound bigger than what it really is. So that's about it. I will see you on the next video, and thanks for watching.